Hello there, my name is Bruce Rain from Brackets Creations, and that camera angle seems a little bit odd, doesn't it? Seem a little bit... yeah. A little bit better, maybe? Yeah. My name is Bruce Rain from Brackets Creations. Thank you very much for joining me. I still feel like that's a little bit too high. Sorry, I removed this camera temporarily. I took this camera up to the house to do some stuff during the week, and then I forgot about it, and then I just brought it down this morning, and I was frantically plugging it in and getting it all set up, and then I suddenly realised, it was a little bit odd. And then I was also faffing around with the Chook cam, trying to get it better, trying to get so that it was, before it was very jerky, I was trying to get it so it was smoother, and now it doesn't work at all. But it's okay, I have a backup plan. So anyone who wants to say hello to the chickens, we're all good. Actually, let's say hello to the chickens, because at the moment, okay, so this is my little backup plan here for the chickens. That is not a chicken at all, as you can probably tell. That, my friends, is an Australian white ibis. They are a native animal, as in they're not an introduced species, and it's having a bit of a go at the chicken's water there. So there we go. As you can see, they have a rather strange drinking style there, especially with the little water bucket that I have for them. So anyhow, there's a little white ibis. It looks like it's being chased away now by the chickens, because that one there that's walking towards the water now is the boss. So anyhow, back to the old here. There we go. Okay, I'm going to do my normal thing. I'm going to say hello to everyone who has joined me here today. So I'll start there. Jack68K first. Congratulations on being first. I have to admit, I was freaking out a little bit. I made this thing, got it all ready to go, and a lot of the time when I set up a stream ready to go, like literally within a couple of minutes, I get someone saying hello in the chat, and then I was like, the chat was just empty, and I'm thinking, uh-oh, what have I done wrong? But anyhow, people arrived. If you build it, they will come. Thank you. Chibitronics, hello. All Things DG, hello. K-Mac Vintage, hello. Roger Salter, hello. Foxhound477, hello. Francois Revol. Colin, this does not compute, is here. Carthor. Paul Byerly, 8WT.5, Jared Burma. Is that everyone? Charlie's here, hello. Did I say hello, Charlie? I think I already said hello, Charlie. Hello, Charlie. Rudy's Retro Intel, hello there. Okay, now let's have a little quick look at the chat to see if they were missing anything. FX, 2FX can't wait. I have 3 of these to do for people. Yeah, I mean, look, you could call this essentially part 6 of my 2FX Reloaded build, because I did it before in several parts, had some problems during the build, sorted those out, all good. Got it running in my last one, which I actually called it 2FX Reloaded Finale. In that, I installed RAM, I gave it a video card, we booted, we looked at the screen output, I ran a speed test on it, we ran a little bit of either Doom or Wolfenstein, probably Wolfenstein be more likely on an 030, and it all worked beautifully, and that was great. But that's all the fun part. Then there's the other stuff. Now, this is not my board, this is for Kai, and at the end of the day, Kai's probably not going to be happy with a 2FX that has only one NuBus port and no processor direct slot and only 4 RAM slots in it. And so what I have to actually do is I've got to actually make this be more like a real 2FX, not one that just passes, you know what I mean? Just gets through, kind of just runs. So, yeah. Hope you've got all your lightning damage repaired. There's really only one more thing, Roger, that I have not yet repaired, and that is an infrared light that I use that comes on at night time just for illuminating the chicken coop. It's not super essential. It's the LED driver inside it is fried, and it's not something that I could just get off the shelf at a retailer. I've got to order it from somewhere like DigiKey or something like that. So I'll get one of those in the next DigiKey order, but at the moment, that's the only thing that hasn't been repaired. Everything else, but there was a lot. And of course it wasn't even an immediate discovery. It was like over time. It's like, oh crap, this doesn't work either, and oh shit, this doesn't work either, and so that sort of ended up happening. Okay, what do we got here? Whoopsie. Incidentally, if anyone is interested, I have recently just joined Blue Sky. If anyone's not aware of Blue Sky, it's a sort of Twitter-based, or Twitter-style sort of social media thing. I only found out about it quite recently, and so I've joined up today, and I noticed that a lot of my other Vintage Tech friends were also part of it, so I'm part of it now as well. So if you want to follow or do the things of the socials and stuff, I probably spend more time on Facebook than I do on any other form of social media. So if you are wanting to sort of follow what's going on, I do have a Brankus Creations page. You can always sort of like that and see if I'm, I generally post if I'm going live and all that sort of stuff. Or if I do a live stream and something doesn't work, and then I switch off the camera and a couple of minutes later I fix it, which happens a lot. And then I usually do a little post saying, hey, for everyone who watched this thing that didn't work at the end of the stream is now working because of blah, 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 blah. We're all here to see the chickens, actually. Dave, hello there, Dave. Garrett Trailer, hello. I don't think I said hello to you. Did I say hello to you, Retro Techie? I'm not sure I did. I feel like I missed people. It's terrible. Does your t-shirt identify as a Mac? Well, this is an Apple logo, so of course it does. Even though everything they've kind of done with this is to try and avoid any sort of copyright hassles. That's not actually in the shape of an apple here. That could be the shape of freaking anything. They've used hello rather than actually using an Apple logo. So this is someone desperately trying to bypass any sort of copyright concerns they might have with Apple. So we've kind of got the color scheme but not the shape. We've got a computer here but without an actual really properly visible logo. So I really struggle with this. I'm backwards. Which finger? This finger. There, and then that one. Okay, have to think about that. So yeah, this is someone who definitely did not want to pay any rights to Apple. That's for sure. Point 5. Did I say hello to you? I can't remember. Maybe. Abeleski, hello there. Some of the caps, your recapping guide you have linked are no longer available. Please feel to drop me a message on Discord or something like that if you want to identify any specifically. I probably need to go in and do a full redo of all that, but I just haven't spent much time on that website for a while, so my apologies for that. But that doesn't surprise me. I mean, some of those caps that I did select, I grabbed them at the time. It was based on the price, and they're probably different now. And I think they're all linked to Mouser, aren't they? I think, and of course I buy all my stuff from DigiKey these days, so I probably should change that so they're DigiKey links. What Mouser enabled me to do a link that when you click on it, it'll automatically take you to your country's version of that website and onto the product. And that was kind of handy. So it meant that if you're an Australian person and you click on the link, it'll take you to the Mouser website, Mouser Australia website with that product showing. Whereas with DigiKey, that seemed to be a lot harder, but I don't know. Greetings from Florida. Greetings right back at you from Sydney. At the moment, it's 26 degrees where I am at the moment. That's saying it's 24, but that's because that's right on the coast. This when they give the Sydney temperature, the observatory in Sydney is actually right close to the coast, and I'm a little bit further inland. And and it's supposed to get up to about 31 degrees C today, so I've got my trusty air conditioner here keeping me cool. If you build a list of parts on DigiKey, they'll email you when your parts go obsolete. Oh, that's good to know. I mean, I do have lists on DigiKey. Hopefully nothing's gone obsolete yet. And sometimes they might get hard to find. But see, I mean, generally I'm listing, what do you call them? What's that brand? I can't think of the brand of the capacitor. Oh, it's so long since my brain focused on this sort of stuff. These days I just go reach for the container. Grant, g'day mate, said in high-pitched voice of Theo. Which one's, oh, is in like, g'day mate, like that? Oh, g'day mate, it's fully sick mate. Check out my car mate, it's fully sick, it's got this fully sick subwoofer in the back mate, it's bullshit. Okay, where are we? I'm sticking to Mastodon for now. I'm part of Mastodon as well, but I don't know. I wasn't blown away by Mastodon when I joined that. I found that when I jumped onto blue sky, within a very, very short span of time, it started showing me things I'm interested in. So I felt like, well, they've got a good Al Gore rhythm. Minutes. About 25. See. Smashed the unicorn for you. I don't know what that means, but never mind. Nichicon, Chemicon. No, it was neither of those. Abeleski. It wasn't. No, they're all the ones for the electrolytic caps. I'm thinking of more of the tantalums. So it wasn't any of those. It wasn't Rubicon, Nichicon, Chemicon, Panasonic. Panasonic is generally what I recommend for all electrolytics, if Panasonic have one available. But they don't always. So for instance, with things like the axial capacitors that you need for some of these older Macs, you have to go with different brands for those. Leo is here. I have to call him Leo now because I do such a terrible job of pronouncing his name that he's just Leo now. Ah, dear. Wasn't Vichy. It's messing with me now. I'm gonna have to look it up, aren't I? I'm gonna have to look it up. Just putting the finishing touches on an SE30 refurb. Thanks for all the recapping, trace fixing, soldering tips. You are most welcome, Grant. I'm glad they were of assistance. So when you say refurb, is it like a reloaded board, one that you bought from Boll and you moved all the components across? If that is the case, or is it one where you've just refurbed an original one, you've cleaned it all up, recapped it, got it all looking nice? So just interested to know. Always interested to know what people are doing with their SE30s. I feel like this is crooked. All right, I'm going to look up the caps. I'm going to look up the caps so that everyone knows which brand I'm talking about. When I think of it, when I do think of it, I'm going to feel pretty stupid because I'm sure it's something that I should have remembered and kept in my brain pan. In my head grapes. Okay, what do we got here? We got Recarp a Mark. I'll go to one of the more recent ones I've done. What's one of the more recent ones I've done? Well, I think I made some updates to some of these. Kemet. Kemet. That's what I was thinking of, Kemet. Did someone already say that? If they already said that, I do apologise. Kemet. They're generally the capacitors I recommend for the old tantalums. So Kermit. There was another brand that I used to sort of use, but I had trouble getting them for a while, so I switched over to Kemet. Hi-Fi Freak. Oh no. All the Japanese electrolytic caps are outstanding. Panasonic can be especially pricey for high-end capacitors. You can. Yeah, I definitely accept that. The Panasonic are expensive. I think it kind of comes down to what you're doing, and what we're doing here, a lot of the time when we're talking about vintage computer restoration, we're trying to make these things last as long as possible. And of course, we also attribute a certain value to this equipment. We sort of say, okay, well, this is an SE30 or whatever. It's it's an important part of vintage computer history. And so when I put new caps in it, I'm going to spend a little bit more to put better quality ones that might prolong its life, that sort of stuff. So, well, if I was just, building a little kit or something like that, I would be quite happy to just put cheapy caps on. I really don't care. But when we're talking about restoring something, trying to bring something back to life and potentially trying to extend its life, then I think it pays to put, better quality caps in there. Where it really starts to get expensive are the big fat capacitors in power supplies, like on the primary side of power supplies. Those really big ones, they can be very expensive. Speaking of which, I zapped myself so badly from that friggin' capacitor right there. I was working on this power supply, looking at trying to repair it, find out where the fault was, and I found the fault, and I'm not going to bother repairing it. It's just not worth it. And I brushed I brushed my finger on it and I was like, ooh, oh, that was nasty. Ooh, glad that's done. And then a little bit later on, I was working on something completely different and my hand ended up on it and I put my finger down, this finger here, down across that capacitor and it just went crack. And then I just ended up with 2 burn marks on my finger here. And I was thinking, oh man, you know, it still had some life left in it. How about that? So I then grabbed the screwdriver just to be bloody certain, put that across it, crack! So it was a capacitor that had a lot of pain in it, a lot of pain to give out, a lot of pain to dish out and share with the world. So, yeah, but it's gone now. I'm still not going to touch it, but it's gone now. It's emptied. It's discharged. It hasn't been powered up in ages, but I'm still scared of it. I have suffered abuse in the hands of that capacitor, and I am traumatized. Hello from Sam and Emily in Birmingham, Alabama, USA. Hello to you. Okay, just an original recap, trace, fix, clean, and paint? Did you paint it? Did you paint the case? Interesting. I went funky with colours because I couldn't remove some of the 30-year-old permanent marker. Fair enough, I can understand that. I guess when you're in that predicament where, when I've had computers where someone has had a sticker on the side, and when you're taking that sticker off, you've got that colour discoloration. Now, you kind of can get around that by what's it called, retro brining it. But even then, it's hard. It's hard to then get it so you'll never see that mark of the sticker on the side. So yeah, I can kind of understand someone wanting to paint it. At the end of the day, it's your unit, so do what you want. I don't care about grubby cases. I never have. People often talk to me. They send me messages in my YouTube, and they go, "Oh, you know, I really enjoyed watching the restoration of this. I'd love it if you could do a video on retro brining." And I'm sort of like, I just don't really get into it because I don't care how the case looks. As long as the machine inside works, I'm happy. I mean, I don't like it when there are holes in things. I don't like when things are snapped or melted or, you know, busted off. I don't like that. But as long as it's intact, I don't care if it's got drawings on. Even to some extent when things have been engraved by a company or a school, because you get that here a fair bit if you get an old computer that belonged to an educational institution and someone will have engraved the name of the school on it. I don't even mind that. That's part of the history of the computer. Okay. Has anyone joined here that I haven't said hello to? If they have, I apologise. Okay. Now, what I have to do is I have to start getting some of these through-hole components off an old board to then transfer them onto a new board. And that is the part which is a little bit tricky. So I'm going to grab one of my donor boards. This is the worst one. This one's got a wicked bend in it because this one just got massacred. I mean, look at this. And I meant to do that. This one got massacred by the heat thingy that I put it on. But having said that, I mean, it's still all of these ports and things. These are all still fine. So I need to get things I need to get off here. I've got to get off this the floppy port thingy. I've got to get off the PDS slot. I've got to get off 4 of these RAM slots here, which incidentally are identical to the ROM slots. Exactly, you can interchange. It's bad for it, but you can just take RAM out and put it in the ROM slot if you want to. But you don't do that. That's bad. And I've already I have to have a look. But the problem I have with removing a lot of these things is when the little people put these together, I don't know they were little, they could have been giants for all I know, but when the people put these together, I just always imagine people in a factory, and all little people work in a factory. But no, they could have been giants for all I know. Oh God, I hate it when I do that. I switch on my soldering iron and this screen goes blank, and then it comes back on again. They bend these pins. You know, you can see them here a little bit. You can just see there. These spots here, those bends, that's where they've bent these pins. And in order to get these off, I've got to unbend these pins. So the first thing I do before I do anything, I've got to go through and unbend some of these pins. And for that, there's no real easy method, and sometimes the pins end up breaking. I will probably end up using a wedge, a little wedge soldering iron tip, so I can get that in under it and go with sound effects. Oopsie. Looking forward to dinner tonight. Cooking chicken schnitty. Schnitty. Might get a bigger wedge than this. I think I need more heat transfer. When it's really important with soldering iron, and this is something that I demonstrated when I was doing a product review just recently for these tweezers. I like these tweezers, but they have such small tips on them. Although you can look at that and you can go, oh, that's great for precision work. The small tips means less surface area on the thing that you're trying to remove or you're trying to heat up, and it makes it a lot harder to then get that heat transferred across. So in an instance like this where I don't need an incredibly delicate sort of hand, I'm going to probably go with this one here it's a T12 tip. It's called a K, T12K. I'm just going to change to the top view here and you'll be able to get a better look at this. There we are. Can you see that tip there? So this hopefully will allow me with these bent pins to get in here on the side and then bend them up while applying heat. So as long as they're straight up and down, then it should be fine. That's the tip I use the most, I think. Well, there you go. Yeah, it does work better with the tip in the right direction. If you have the tip facing out the top rather than going into the bottom, it will definitely work better. I've found that through trial and error. Has anyone here watched a TV series, a mini series on Netflix at the moment called Apple Cider Vinegar? Just curious. I finished watching it the other night, but I'm just curious if anyone else has watched it. About Belle Gibson. Not Mel Gibson, Belle Gibson. Now we're going to keep our little Styri flux close at hand because flux is always needed. I need to make mention of this. I'm going to be reviewing all this stuff. I've got a pile of fluxes over here that I need to do more tests on. But this is Styri ASM UHF that's been brought out by Styri recently. Now, the important thing about this is now REACH compliant. Now, the ASM that I use, I love it. There's many reasons I like it, and you can watch my flux review to see this. But I really like the Styri ASM because in terms of its performance, fantastic. It doesn't just disappear off the board when you apply heat to it. It doesn't leave horrible gunk behind. It washes away reasonably well. It's got a UV tracer in it and everything. But it's one of the downsides, and it's very reasonably priced, but one of the downsides to the original ASM is, and I've just got to look this up because in actual fact I forget all of this technical stuff because at the end of the day I'm not like an engineer or anything like that. I'm just a web developer, which I'll talk about in a minute. Actually, there's some interesting stuff going on with that. Continue. There we go. Flux ASM. Where are we? Here we go. Okay, it's halogen free. So that's the word halogen. So a lot of fluxes have halogens in them, and they're a little bit nasty chemically, and they're ones that have been banned for use in Europe, and that's why they are. That's why the ones with halogens are not REACH compliant. So in other words, you cannot sell them in Europe. Now this ASM UHF is halogen free, which does make it REACH compliant. So this is a little bit better for the environment, and of course a lot better for your lungs as well. So just keep that in mind. So this ASM UHF, and so far in my tests, it has performed just as well as the standard ASM. I haven't compared prices or anything yet, but just wanted to make mention of that there because that's a product they've added quite recently. Jay from the House of Moth is here. Hello and welcome to today's live stream. I'm going to be working on a 2FX today, which of course you have done before, so you should be very familiar with this. For those who don't know, Jay actually got hold of a 2FX logic board that had a massive, I think it was here, it's around here, there was a burn in this slot. So he had to remove the slot, and then there was a massive hole in there that went through multiple layers, and he had to actually fix some traces on the middle layers of this. It was really precise work. It was fantastic stuff. So he's done that. So he's super familiar with the 2FX, and it's one of his favorite Macs, he told me, straight after the MacBook Air. Yeah, I'll tell you what, my desk's not big enough for this. Well, it is big enough for this, but I've got too much crap on it. So anyhow, we're going to have a crack at this and just see how well this goes. I'm going to get my goggles. Here we are. Because these glasses aren't as good. You're probably going to end up having to look at my big fat head. Or am I better off just doing this with the microscope? Probably. probably. Let's just do it with the microscope. Right. Got a 13-inch MacBook Air the other day. I mean, it's only a MacBook Air, I know, but at least it's one that's got 8 gigs of RAM rather than one of those stupid ones with 4. I can actually run a reasonable operating system on it. Yeah, I picked it up. It was in terrible condition. It was covered in stickers. Obviously belonged to a child or something like that. And the guy ended up just giving it to me for nothing because he couldn't get it to fire up, I think. But it was fine. Charged it up, removed all the stickers. A lot of work removing the stickers, I might add. There was a lot of work in that. And it looks really good. I'm probably going to open it up. I should have actually brought that down and worked on that today. Because MacBook Airs, those original ones from whatever they were, 2010 to about 2015, something like that, they have a very common problem in that they suck the air in the back, but like where the hinge is for the screen, and dust gets caught on the logic board, and it sits there and it accumulates and gets moisture and it causes corrosion. And so if you don't provide some regular maintenance to them in the form of removing the dust from inside, they will get corroded and eventually stop working. It's kind of a good thing for repairers because you can often end up getting broken ones for quite cheap, and then you just open them up, you replace a few caps, give it a bit of a clean, you put it back together, and you get a working unit. So I used the Mac IIfx as a programmer back in '91. Cool. Okie dokie. All right, let's get some of this done, and we'll see how well this works. So I'm going to jump across to the scope view here, a little bit out of focus. There we go. So I'm going to work my way along here, and we'll see if we can get some of these off without destroying them. MacBook Air carried my repair business for years. Love those things when they're broken. Hate them when they work. Yeah, wow. I make no apologies for the fact that I do like the MacBook Air, particularly the 11-inch one. I know that sounds silly, but it's such a small size that it's a computer that I can just tuck into like the glove box of the car, in case if I'm going away on holidays and I don't expect to have to work. But if someone suddenly calls me and says, "Oh, I've forgotten my password," or some stupid shit like that, I can just fire that up, reset their password or whatever the case may be. Or if it's a password that I've stored for them, I can send it to them. This board, by the way, I have absolutely no care for the state of it. I don't mind that I'm digging little grooves in it. This board is absolutely stuffed. And so I managed to get hold of, quite some time ago, a MacBook Air 2015 model, 11-inch, and it was a custom to order. So someone had actually got one that was spec'd out. So they'd got a larger storage inside it and extra RAM. And it's been really good. It's because it's so small, holds a charge really well. You can just sort of, if I'm going somewhere but I really can't be bothered carrying a big bulky laptop around with me, I can just, take the little one. Oh, excuse me. Okay. Hello there to Christian Ovarson. I haven't said hello to you. Enzo is here. Hello there. It just beeped. It wasn't up to temp yet, I think. I think you're right. Boop, 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 boop. Now, when I actually go to remove these slots, there is a very good chance that some of the pins will get stuck in the board and won't come out. And then I'll have to remove those pins manually and then poke them back in there. It's easy enough to do. It happens. It's nothing, major. I'm at a public pool watching and I can't hear. That's fair enough. Can you ask the people at the pool to put it on the loudspeaker? I have to say this wedge tip that I'm using here, or chisel tip, whatever you want to call it, is working way better for this job than any other tip that I have used. So there was much rejoicing. Yay! Yeah, it only just beeped again. Oh no, hang on, it's upset at me. It's not making proper contact. There we go. We're good now. Okie dokie. So, yeah, I asked before, has anyone watched Red Wine, Apple Cider Vinegar, the Netflix series? I'll take a non-answer as no. Just curious, because I watched it and I found it quite interesting, but it's still very, very hard to watch. Because the main character is such an absolute a-hole. God, this one bent right down. Has anyone started watching Series 3 of Reacher yet? There's only 3 episodes out yet. I'm not sure I want to jump into it if there's only 3 episodes. I'll probably wait for the whole thing to come out. Just curious, because I enjoyed Reacher Series 1, but I didn't enjoy Reacher Series 2 very much. Had its moments, but on the whole I didn't really like it. So I am waiting with bated breath to see whether Reacher Series 3 can regain my interest. This is interesting, isn't it? Just say yes. Just say yes. Steph, hello there. Hello from to everyone from France. So I say bonjour to you, but it's probably bonsoir, I would think. I could be wrong. I have no idea what time it is in France right now. Almost 2 a.m. That is, yeah, that's late. Probably should use my fume extractor. I'm getting plasticky smell fumes as I'm doing this. I'm not a big fan of plasticky smell fumes. I'm saving Reacher Season 3 till it's all done, then I'll binge. Yep, that's the way I like to watch things these days. Not a big fan of having to wait for episodes to drop. I think Netflix always releases things in one go, but I think things like Amazon and stuff like that, they do things. Well, in the instance of Reacher, they drop 3 episodes, and then they'll drop 1 every week after that. I must depart. Family gathering time. Fair enough. Enjoy the family gathering. I shall chat to you later on, Jay. If anyone has just joined, what I'm doing at the moment is preparing these NuBus slots for removal. I need to remove these from the board, but because they have these little bent pins, when I go to heat them and then remove them, those bent pins will prohibit me from taking them out. So Yeah. Isn't it funny that 2FX doesn't have built-in video? You'd think they could have done that, wouldn't you? Whee, Jesus. Sorry, that was a probably a rock-hard fig falling off the fig tree in the backyard and hitting the roof on the shed. Frightened me. So I went for a picnic yesterday, right? Breakfast picnic. I too am leaving, having a late dinner. Goodbye, Rudy. Thank you for joining, and I hope you enjoy your dinner. The massive 2FX board would be even more massive if it had built-in video. I reckon they could have squeezed some in. Look at all the empty space. Look. 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 Look at all this empty space around the NuBus port. You could stick a few little chips under there, couldn't you? Yeah. I reckon you could. It's all fairly spacey. I reckon they could have crammed things closer together and put some internal video on there. But then again, I ask for a lot, you know? That's just me. Very demanding. So, yeah, I went for a picnic, breakfast picnic yesterday with the wife. Nice time, set up my little gas burner and cooked up some bacon and cooked up some eggs and had them on a bread roll. And oh, am I being brought food? Oh, thank you. And then we were sitting there and eating, in the middle of actually eating, bacon and egg roll. My wife had about that much sandwich left, holding it in her hand, and then a kookaburra swooped down, dive bombed, and took the sandwich out of her hand. Very unfair. I should probably mute while I eat, shouldn't I? You don't need to hear me eating. Kookaburra sound is very, very hard to replicate. It sort of starts off with a and then it breaks into a big sort of sound. There are times when you hear it, if you're watching a movie and someone's meant to be in a jungle somewhere, a number of times you hear a kookaburra call, and it's just something they've got from like a sound, stock sound library, because they'll be in a place where there aren't kookaburras. Because I think kookaburras are only here in Australia. And they're a type of kingfisher, very big beak. They obviously fish things out of the water. So you'll find them near rivers and stuff like that, where there's going to be, where there's going to be fish. But they are incredibly stealthy when they want to be. And they can dive bomb and just take food. And if you do a Google search or a search on YouTube for kookaburra stealing food, you wouldn't believe how stealthy and ballsy they can be. So, they're taking your sandwich. They're not actually taking your life, so it's okay. But kookaburras are beautiful birds, absolutely beautiful birds. Okay, I'm going to take another bite. Remind me not to eat while I'm live streaming in the future. It's very impractical. I'm likely to get indigestion. I ate that so fast. Where's my tweezers? Have I dropped my tweezers? Oh no. Oh, there they are. Right there. Okay, still going. They are kookaburras. It's generally regarded. They have a laughing sound. They sound a bit like they're laughing. But it was a very nice little picnic. We had we were sort of sharing it with quite a lot of the local local fauna. There were some water dragons. I don't know if you've ever seen water dragons before, but they're a type of lizard that swims. And they were hanging out, saying g'day to us. And we had some magpies, and we had some sulphur-crested cockatoos, and there was a king parrot that was flying in and out of its nest. It's really pretty. I may well end up losing some of these pins when I bend them. So far, so good, but because I'm having to bend them with quite a bit of stress against them, and they're old, they may well snap. Was it men at work who got in trouble for stealing from kookaburra sitting on the old gum tree? It was indeed. Yeah, every now and again you come across a dangerous animal. I went for a bushwalk a few weeks ago and walked straight past a red-bellied black snake. They're pretty dangerous, not fatal though. I wouldn't want to get bitten by one, but to be honest, you would have had to have really pissed it off to have gotten bitten. It would more likely just run away if it was threatened. It's not uncommon to come across Sydney funnel web in Sydney. Once again, you just got to give them a wide berth. They're unlike a lot of other spiders in that they really, if they end up getting cornered, they get massively aggressive, really aggressive. You want to steer clear of that. Guy got stung by a friggin' blue-ringed octopus the other day. He was just walking along the beach. This was on the news. He was just walking along the beach, and he picked up a shell and didn't realise that there was an octopus, because they're very small, these blue-ringed octopus. There was an octopus on the shell, and so I lost a pin. That one's definitely going to snap. And he got bitten by the blue-ringed octopus and ended up paralysed in hospital. Thankfully, he didn't die. But had he not been in hospital, had his wife and he not been fairly quick thinking when his thumb suddenly went numb, let's get you to a hospital. So they were able to rig him up to breathing apparatus and stuff like that, and he survived. But his whole body got paralysed by the the little blue-ringed octopus. They're a very, very dangerous little creature. And you do not want to be touching them, as cute as they are. Okay, Jeremy, hello there. This is the donor board. This is the donor board that I'm basically trying to raid for these NuBus ports to stick onto the new one. I mean, there might be better ways to do this. You may even be able to still buy these NuBus ports, but at the end of the day, I don't have any. No one's given me any, and this isn't my board, so I am having to do this as cheaply as possible. I do have this donor board, so that's what I'm going to use. And I think that's all of them. I'm just going to double check here, but I think I have, unbended all the pins for these ports, so I can look at removing these. But I do want to look at the RAM as well. I'd like to see if I can get the RAM slots off with this. When I actually comes time to remove these things, I put them on a hot plate and heat it up. And once they're heated up, you kind of then. You have to wait then before you can go back to using the donor board, because it's so hot. You've got to sit there and wait and let it cool down before you can go and touch it again. So I'm probably in this session going to just do the RAM slots and the NuBus ports, and then I'll potentially come back and do the other things later on. Apple's Anonymous, Nick, hello there. There are a lot of things that we don't have here in Australia in terms of when people talk about all the deadly animals and stuff. We don't really have any big, dangerous, like mammals type stuff. No bears, no tigers, nothing like that. So the main thing, probably the scariest animal, I don't know, well, there's crocodile, of course. We've got plenty of crocodiles. Not where I am, they're up north, but they're up closer to the tropics, but there's crocodiles, they're pretty nasty. The sharks, of course, you've got to be in the water for them. On land, I guess, I don't know what, a cassowary, but again, you'd have to really piss one off. Kangaroos can be dangerous, great big ones, they can be very dangerous for sure. Yeah. Right. Oh, God, some of these pins just look like they're ready to fall apart. Okay, they're all straight. That one's a bit bendy. Bendy. Oh, we're not on the microscope. Sorry. Quokkas are adorable. They're very cute. Unfortunately, you don't see them in many places. They're very, very isolated to one particular region, and I think it's over on the west coast. We're on the east coast here. But having said that, we do have them in zoos here. There's a zoo very close to where I live, and they have quokkas in there, and you can actually go and hand feed them. Very cute. Aussie blokes with mullets are very dangerous. I try and stay away from places where they are. I really don't mind snakes at all. I really don't have an issue with snakes. I know how to steer clear of the poisonous ones, but I don't have, I don't have really a fear of snakes. Maybe that's a bad thing. I mean, obviously I'm sensible about it. I'm still alive. Unless I'm not, and maybe this is all part of some simulation or a dream or something. Who knows? This solder here for these pins is just mega crusty. Tasmanian devils, well, once again, they're only in, they're in a very isolated part of Australia. They're in zoos, you'll see them in zoos, but they're very small. I mean, they're mean and nasty to things that really threaten them, but it's not like a human's ever going to have a problem with one. They're so funny to watch because they're just so aggressive to each other. Oh, look at that one. Whoever bent that one was on a bloody mission. Apparently you can still buy these sockets, but they're apparently not very easy to get if you're in Australia because the company that sell them don't particularly like shipping overseas. Or if you do ship overseas, they've got like a minimum quantity of like you got to buy 1,000 of them or some shit like that. And I just sort of feel like you do know which century you're in. I hope. Because I feel like you don't. Oh, how'd I miss that one? I missed the whole row. Yeah, I think I only did half of some of these because I'm stupid. So stupid. Whoopsie. So we've got the old Macintosh starting up soon, eh? Eh? Getting towards the end of Feb. And when you get to the end of Feb, you get into March, and then you get into Macintosh. So I think the official launch of Macintosh, or the pre-launch video, is happening the day after tomorrow, I think. So that video is probably going to be on Ron's, I would think. The reason why I'm bending the pins straight and not cutting them shorter, because I want to keep them as long as possible because I'm going to reuse them. So, DigiKey sells the NuBus slots. Oh, okay, but yeah, the ROM/RAM slots are difficult. Someone should set up a group buy. Yeah, it would be good. So they do sell the NuBus slots. How about that? Well, once again, yeah, I'm not actually getting paid for this. I'm doing it as a favour. Well, I guess a return favour. I'm doing it for Kai, and Kai has done a huge amount for me, lots and lots of generous stuff. But in the instance of these, he did provide me with this donor board to use the stuff from, and so that's what I'm going to do. Now I think I've bent all these pins, so I'm actually now going to see if I can get them off. So this part is an interesting part because it involves sitting and waiting for something to heat up. So during that, we'll need to just try and entertain it ourselves. I'm going to go get my hot thingy. Get with the hot shit. Whoa. And where is the hot thingy? Where have I put it? Used to just live here. I moved it. Can anyone tell me why I moved it? More importantly, can anyone tell me where I moved it to? Oh, here it is. It's on the floor. I probably put it here when it was hot because I can't put it into the spot where it normally lives when it's hot. Otherwise, it will melt things. Okay, hang on. Where do we got, Paul? The Midnight Oil song Blue Sky Mine was about an asbestos mine, I believe, which has destroyed a lot of traditional lands. We did do something with Marbo to recognise land rights work in progress. Okay, cool. So some people are talking about Midnight Oil. I used to be a huge Midnight Oil fan, but with their earlier stuff, things like 10 to 1 and Red Sails in the Sunset, that sort of stuff. Once they did Blue Sky Mining, I that's okay, but it's not as good as their earlier stuff. Oh crap, you know what I should do before I switch this on? I've got to make sure there isn't other things on this circuit that's likely to make a fuse blow, because if a fuse blows then my live stream will stop. And it won't be over, but it will stop and I'll have to go and switch everything on. So just going to check on the status here. Okay, I think we should be okay because the washing machine is on its spin cycle. It's not heating the water, so I don't think it'll be using as much electricity. But if it does go black, that's why. Okay. Beep. Okay, so I've got this set at 330. We'll see how that goes. So let's go here to the top view. Now this is really tricky, and the reason why it's tricky is because it's hot, and hot's dangerous. But I'm going to start here, so I'm going to put this there. I need to try and get this as flat as possible onto the hot plate. I've got a thermal camera here somewhere, so we can keep an eye on how hot it's getting. I generally don't try and remove anything from the board until I start to see solder melting here. I usually put a little blob of solder here, and once it turns into a little ball, I start removing it. It's heating slowly, 50 degrees it says. I probably need to stick something under this board so that it's laying flat. So I can find something of the right height. How about a fluke? Nope, that's not the right height. It's too tall. Okay, so what if we could eliminate the ROM slots altogether in a new design? It would be cool. This is something that Will from KMac has been doing with the SE30. He's been making RAM modules that solder straight into the board, so you don't need to worry about it. Because, you know, once upon a time, these things, they needed to be upgradable. You know, you had a certain amount of RAM, and then later on you could maybe add some more RAM to them. But in this day and age, with RAM being a lot cheaper, you know, it's a lot easier to take these to their maximum. And if they're taken to their maximum, then do you really need to leave slots there? I mean, you could just solder that maximum onto the board and you're done with it. So, I sort of feel like with these, you know, vintage ones, the slots kind of, you know, RAM slots kind of lose their need, I guess. I mean, you know, people might disagree with me, but that's sort of how I feel. That's how I feel, man. Okay, so I feel like I've got that sitting reasonably flush. Now, a couple of things I can do with this. I can add some Fluxaroonie to this, if I can find it. I've obscured it now because I'm over here. I'll use some of this flux. What have I got? E99F. This is some of the old V4. So this is the new stuff, this Flux V4. So I can put a little bit of flux around here. When that starts to smoke, you can kind of get an idea that that once that melts, that'll wander its way underneath there. And then I'll usually get a little bit of solder here. Just take it off. It's sitting at 158 degrees now, 159. Get a little bit of solder, just like, you know. Oops, lost it. There it is. Get my tweezers. Tweezers. I probably should get all my pliers and things ready because I'm going to need to really hack at this later on. And once it gets hot, gets a bit tricky. Sorry about my head in the way. There's that, there's that. I can smell the flux already, so we're getting some heat there. Here's some tweezers. Let's get that and put that there. Ready to see that melt. And I'll probably, as we get closer, I'll start pushing this down. And that'll, when I push this down onto the board, we'll get more heat transferred to it. But I do need to find my pliers, because I will need my pliers in order to get this stuff off. Oh, don't want to lose that. That's important. Cool, I didn't break it. Steve is here. Hello there, Steve. I hope you are having a good evening with whatever you're doing at the moment. I guess, what is it, Saturday evening over there? It's a good time to be sitting and watching a live stream, wouldn't you say? We're trying to get Steve to live stream, but one of the problems he's had is he's had lots of troubles with his computer that he does live streaming with. And so as a result, he has a new computer on the way, but as a result, he hasn't really been able to. I managed to talk him into live streaming the other day. He did a... because I didn't even realize that I wasn't streaming. Okay, so I've got to try and get this happening. I'm assuming, at the moment, I kind of need to deal with the situation of what's in front of me. So I am just hoping that everything is back to normal now. So if everyone could just sort of maybe give me some confirmation. But I'm having, things are a little bit chaotic at the moment, so my apologies. It's back. Reload. Good. Okay, so just to explain to everyone what happened there. I was moving things around the desk. My keyboard was there. And what got bumped was the thanks for watching video, which makes the stream end once it's finished playing. Now, although I actually stopped it from playing and went back to a normal view, I thought we were away. We were still going. I thought everything's peachy. And then, it just suddenly stopped. I just realized then that it wasn't streaming, and people weren't responding to things that I was saying. And I'm like, oh, hang on. I don't think I've actually started up the stream again. And I hadn't. So that's the situation. Just going to get some fume extraction here. So this is where it all starts to get a bit tricky, and I'm probably going to need to get another pair of pliers or another thing. It all started with me trying to find pliers, and I couldn't find them, so I grabbed different pliers. All right, here we go. So I'm using my big beefy pliers today. Now, we've got lots and lots of heat happening here because of the way the board is curved. But I need to apply, I've got to hold this down like this so that heat starts getting to this area here. Please continue, everyone, how wonderful I am with not streaming. Oh, yes, that's right. I was telling a story about Steve not streaming. And so ultimately, he has this, had this computer issue. He's got a new computer on the way, which I imagine will come this week. But I managed to talk him into streaming the other day and doing some floppy disk archiving. I mean, he had to do, I'd like to say that it was all my doing, but I think all I did was provide a gentle nudge. New computer should arrive Monday. All right. So we definitely need to be seeing a live stream to celebrate that, don't we? Okay, let's see how we're going temperature-wise. So I've got a little bit of solder down there, which hasn't melted, so we're not at the temperature yet to melt. We're sitting at about... maximum temp I'm getting here is about 170 degrees Celsius. The solder's going to melt probably around about the 190 mark. Once I see this little guy start to melt, I can probably start wiggling these guys off. But at the moment, they're still pretty on there. I can feel this one starting to give in some places. But if you pull these too hard, you don't get the pins. The pins stay behind. They say, no, I'm staying. I'll be sympathetic towards the board. Yeah, look at that. What temp is your heat-based thingy? It's up. It's sitting at about 310 at the moment. It's never really that temp. It's whatever temperature it says. It doesn't actually get that hot. I mean, it is hot, smoke coming off this thing, but it's still not melting this solder here. So the heat coming through to this side of the board is still not hot enough to melt solder. Sorry, I'm talking really loud at the moment. That's because of all the excitement. We're getting close. These are definitely wigglyable. Wigglyable? Yeah. It's hotter up this end than it is at that end. I've got my fume extractor on at the moment because, as you can see, there is smoke galore coming out. I'm going to crank it up a little bit higher. I do apologise if it's a little bit hard to hear me. This one's really starting to give. Look at that. I do feel like I'm going to lose some pins with this one though. There's one. Oh, the solder melted. So we're there. 2. We lost a pin in that one. No loss of pin in that one. I really don't have anywhere to stick all this hot stuff. The 1 pin lost in that one. Up. Off. Oh, Jesus. Don't melt. Okay. So, 1 pin loss in that one. So I've got 3 pins that I need to remove from here. Just grab those now. 1. 2. 3. As I mentioned at the beginning, it's very easy to put these pins back in, so there's no problem there. And then now we want to move across and see if we can get the RAM off. Would not be wanting to do this without a fume extractor, I can tell you. There we go. So I'd really like to try and get these 2 off. Already got 2 on there, so I just need these 2. PDS, well, the PDS has to come off, but I'm not sure I'm going to do it today. I've got more than enough work cut out for me putting these NuBus slots onto the other board. So if I can get all the NuBus done and all the RAM done today, I will consider that a done deal. What I still need to do is, I probably won't take it from this because it's broken, but I want the SCSI connector. Even though I do have spare SCSI connectors, they're not the original FX ones that have the little clippy bits on the side. So I want the clippy bits. Was a hot plate expensive? No, it wasn't. I bought it from AliExpress or somewhere like that. Pretty inexpensive. I want to remove the little floppy drive connectors because, again, they've got the clippy ones, even though I have spares of those. And the NuBus slot. I've already got the ROM slot. I'll probably take this off if I can. Oh, and I've got to get all these connectors as well, but I don't really intend to get everything done today. Yeah, I can't remember. It was AliExpress or Amazon, one of the 2. I bought one. I've told this story before. I bought one from AliExpress, and they said it was a 110 volt one, but there was an image on there that showed 240 volts. So I thought, oh, I bet it's one that can be adjusted. It probably has a switch at the back. You can change it. So I took a bit of a chance, and I ordered one that said it was 110 volts. when I got it here, it was not switchable, it was not changeable. So I went and got a different transformer so that I could transform, I could use 240 volts with it, but it wasn't right. It used so much power. It used, I don't know, something like, 4,000, 5,000 watts when it was running, something like that. So it was almost like an instant blowing the, blowing the switch sort of thing. So that didn't work out so well. I've got a piece of solder here. The bigger problem I have with the RAM slots trying to get them out is they do actually have a little piece of plastic in them, and that can actually hinder the removal of them. But at least these pins don't come out, don't fall out as easily as the NuBus ones do. Did I say floppy connectors? I meant floppy connectors. If I didn't say floppy connectors, I do need to remove the floppy connectors. But again, I'm not going to do that today. I've only got a certain amount of time to work on this today. It's Sunday is my chores day. Any of the chips that you should remove before I throw them out? I have a few dead FX motherboards. The chips that I should remove. Well, look, the best person to speak to about that would be probably someone like Kai, because Kai, he has a very, very clear understanding, or Bowl for that matter, but Kai's probably a bit easier to get in touch with than Bowl. He's got a very clear understanding of which of these chips are hard to source. Just going to put some solder on here. It's kind of hard to do this with one hand, you know. There we go. Oh, that's coming out. That's coming out. Yeah, look at that. How am I going to get it out? Those pliers are too fat. One. Far out. I've got this smaller pair of pliers that I haven't been able to find, and they're the pair of pliers I'd really like to be using to remove these things right now. Is that one going to come out? If that one comes out, I may as well remove it at the same time. This one's got some corrosion on it, so probably not good to use this one anyway. Okay, I think we're good. I'm going to switch off the hot plate, and then we'll see what we need to repair. All right, I'm going to very carefully take this outside so that I don't burn myself or get any more nasty fumes. Hot, 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 hot. A chip fell off the board when I put it down. Ow, ow, ow. Chip hot, hot chip. Ow, 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 ow. Okay, and I'm going to remove this as well, because this is blazingly hot, and I need to put it somewhere where I'm not going to hurt myself or someone else. Ow. There we go. All right, we're still connected. Oh boy, that was fun. Oh dear. Ow. Yes, I walked into the door there. I didn't hurt myself. I didn't burn myself or anything like that. I did really, really clever stuff. I walked into a wall. Right, so RAM slots. That one's nice and tidy. This one's not tidy. This has got some corrosion just there. So this one I'll probably just keep as a emergency spare. Oh, look, I've got a bunch up there. I've got a little bag full of RAM slots. Is there. That one looks pretty good too. So got two nice ones there that we can put on. So that's fantastic. And here are all our NuBus slots. I think I took 5 of them off, didn't I? This one's now permanently stuck to that. There we go. They're still warm, even though I took these off quite a while ago. Woo! God, I need a friggin' lie down after that. Okay, so some of these are missing some pins. I'm just going to go into the microscope and just show you the situation with those. So let me just change over here. Scope, 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 scope. TCI Reloaded, let me Google that. The TCI Reloaded that Max did can work with an ATX. Yeah, that's this is actually one of the things with these reloaded boards that are being made. People are actually making modifications to them to add, you know, some really cool stuff. So some of the things that come to mind straight off the bat are the way Bowl has been designing these new boards so that you can put on a 3-volt lithium battery instead of using the half AA battery. He's been making it so that you can solder the ROM to the board if you don't want to use a ROM sim, that sort of stuff. You know, people are going in and saying, oh, how can we make this a little bit better? And I have it on good authority that when the 2SI Reloaded board gets made, which I don't know how far through that is, that they're going to provide SCSI power, because for some unknown freaking reason, the 2SI doesn't have SCSI power. Yeah, so how stupid is that? Very stupid, I know. Right, so you can see we're missing a pin here, and this is what a little missing pin looks like. We just need to make sure we put it in the same way, because there's like a little bit at the top here and a little bit at the bottom, and you just got to make sure you have the top one facing all the other top ones, like that. Just push it down, that's all it takes. Are those pins clean? Clean enough. Oops, I turned off my soldering iron before. Oh crap, no, I'll tell you what I did. I knocked the plug out the back. There we go. That's better. Hello, chicken. Hello. Little white chickens come to say hello. Hello there. You're hoping I might give you some food, yeah? Hello. It's a cute little chicken, that one. Nearly hot enough. There we go. Just want to see that these are all going to be able to go in. There's nothing stopping these pins from actually going in. So that is one complete NuBus slot. I'm confused. I thought you said you were in Sydney earlier. I am in Sydney. And I thought your house and the chickens were in Tasmania. No, I'm not sure where Tasmania came from. I'm definitely from Sydney. I am in Sydney. If I said Tasmania, I might have been referring to something in Tasmania, but not me. I'm definitely not from Tasmania. It is too cold for me down there. I would not be able to handle it. So I apologise if there was some confusion in something that I said, but I am definitely a Sydney-sider. I'm in Western Sydney. Sydney is a very sort of geographically large city, as in it takes up a lot of space. Yes, I am. So for me, if I was to drive to the Sydney Central Business District, drive into the actual heart of Sydney City, right now, traffic-wise, I could probably get there in about 35 minutes, something like that. So that gives you an idea. Okay, that had a missing pin. That is now a complete NuBus slot. And this one has a missing pin too. I hope there's no more with missing pins, because I've only got 3 pins here. There's that there. And I can steal some pins from other NuBus slots I've got that are in a bad condition, where the plastic's actually damaged. You can just take pins from those. But hopefully that won't be necessary. Okay, so there's number 3 NuBus slot. And this one, hopefully, is all complete. Yep, I'm just going to clean up these little pins here on the end. Might use a little bit of solder wick for that, actually. Ashley! Don't call me Ashley. Why did that not get sucked up by the wick? Why? Oh! Dropped it. Ah. Sydney, unfortunately, is an incredibly expensive city to live in. That's one of the downsides to it. But other than that, I do like Sydney. Sydney is an incredibly multicultural city, in particular in Western Sydney where I am. It is very, very multicultural, and that's something that I actually really enjoy. That'll do. Okay, there's that one. And there's that one. Oh, we got a very unhappy pin there. He's bent. I hope he's got enough for us to solder onto when we put him in the new board, but we'll find that out in a minute. John Wick. John Wick, solder wick. Baba Yaga, as they say. There we go. Oh, melted a bit of plastic there, but that's no one's going to mind because that's the bit that's underneath. We'll just clean off this bit here, like that. No one will ever know. Right. So I'm actually feeling really good about this. I know I've only managed to remove, like, 7 things, but they're important things. So now I got to get the board itself, the purple one. Here it is. Here is the purple board. Yay! So this is the one, you can tell from the little icon there with a little eye patch. This is the one done by Boll. This one, I'm pretty sure is a final revision. I don't think I had to do anything weird with this to make it work. I do need to try and get some better fuses than these. I'm just using these Pico fuses at the moment, but this is meant to have fuses that repair themselves. Oh, I haven't put the real-time clock. Have I not put the real-time clock on? Oh, no, hang on. He gave an option. That's right. He gave an option to use the 2 different packages. So again, this is where he's done cool stuff. You can either use a DIP package or a QFN. Is that what they are? No, they're a PLCC package for the real-time clock. So we use the PLCC package that's meant to be empty, and then there's the clock crystal there. So that's all good. So I guess let's start with the RAM, because I feel like that's, I don't know. I don't know why I should start with the RAM, but I will. I've lost them. I'll find them, don't worry. They won't be far. Australia is just so far away from family in Europe and friends here in the US. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the reasons why Sydney will remain my home. It's where my sort of friends and family are. So that means a lot. That does mean a lot. And of course, I'm one of the lucky ones that owns a house here in Sydney. That's becoming harder and harder to do. But owning a house in Sydney does make living in Sydney a lot easier. What do I do with the bloody RAM slots? Oh, here they are. God, they get pushed back a long way. Do-do-do. Ba-da-ba-bam. Just going to check and see that all these pins are straight enough to go straight in. It's looking good. Like it. Feeling good. Feeling joyous. There's one thing that I will not be doing with this RAM slot. I will not be bending any pins. Because I don't like it. Okay? Okay, let's go to the scope view. Okay, so I'm going to just get one pin sort of soldered first. But I want to apply some pressure because some of these, I think these RAM slots did kind of bend a little bit. So I want to make sure that I'm applying some pressure. Come on. There we go. Applying some pressure. So I push down on the board to make sure that the slot's sitting flush. I think it's sitting flush. Well, looks pretty flush to me. Flush like a toilet. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to change my soldering tip. I bloody hate this for this sort of soldering. A lot of people like them, not me. You know what I haven't done? I haven't gone up here and done this thing. Just bear with me a second because I'm kind of flying blind here a little. And I don't like flying blind. Hello, chickens. So I'm just saying hello to my chickens. And we'll do that. There we go. I have no idea how many people are watching. It could be like 4 or something like that, but there we go. There we go. All right, we're sitting about 47. I'm happy with that number. That's a good number. Hello to everyone who has joined today. I do appreciate you coming and joining me, even though at the moment I feel like what I'm doing is a little bit on the boring side. Alas, a lot of the interesting stuff, because I haven't really been taking on a lot of new recappings lately. A lot of the stuff I've been doing has been a little bit on the dull side because I've just been trying to get through the backlog of stuff I have. And most of the stuff that's stuck with me now are the problematic boards. And so I'm each time just trying to find the interest, trying to find something interesting enough to live stream. Try not to bore everyone to death, so I do apologise. Chaser FPV, love the videos, man. Just found you the other day. Thank you very much, Chaser FPV. I do appreciate that. Crashing early, peace. Good night, Garrett Trailer. Thank you very much for joining. I hope you have a good snooze, a good sleep. And peace to you as well, of course. Peace is important. A piece of peace for me, and a piece of peace for you. And a piece of peace for all the peaceful people that you know. Something like that. It's a strong song by Spearhead, but I can't remember it. Now, one of these did have a busted pin, didn't it? I just need to make sure that I can solder it. This one, I don't think is the one with the busted pin. No. So this one's all pin happy. Okay, so just got to work my way through soldering these. Some people do drag soldering for this stuff. I tend not to drag solder when I'm doing through hole. That's not to say you can't, and maybe I end up getting lazy enough that I will later on, but I do like to pay attention to each pin. And sort of kind of deliver as much as possible an even amount of solder. I do a lot of drag soldering with surface mount stuff. I mean, I love surface mount soldering. It's part of the reason why what I'm doing at the moment has been left for so long. Because I don't sit there and get excited about through-hole soldering. And it is one of the things that frustrates me when people are making things and they're trying to make them accessible for other people, and so they make them with through-hole soldering, like the original Blue SCSI. Now, of course, I'm not criticizing them for doing that. Of course, it's an important thing. There are a lot of people that where through-hole soldering is just, it's a bridge too far. They're not going to do it, and so if they're not going to do it, you've got to, build stuff for them. But I'm just saying, for me personally, when I see something that's through-hole, I'm sort of like, oh, poops. I've been saying for many, many years now, or certainly for a long time now, that we are in an absolutely awesome time to be into retro computing, because we have all of these. Well, I think probably one of the things that has had the biggest impact on some of the stuff that's happening with retro computing these days is the massive price drop in prototyping PCBs. Once upon a time, prototyping PCBs was expensive, messy, difficult, all that sort of stuff. But these days, you're able to get, your Gerber files, you can shoot them across to a company in China, and you can get your PCB back relatively quickly and relatively inexpensively. And that has opened a big doorway to things like these reloaded boards. If we didn't have that, we wouldn't be having these sorts of reloaded boards happening. But then you've also got the stuff that's been happening with, like sort of the mini computers, things like your Raspberry Pi, whether you're talking about a Pico or whether you're talking about was it Nano? I don't know. They're different Raspberry Pi boards that you've got such incredible computing power in this tiny weeny little package, which you can repurpose for anything. And the idea of using a Raspberry Pi Pico for kind of decoding a SCSI signal, it's almost like an insult. It's like getting a computer with that much power doing such a basic job. But I'm probably oversimplifying things there. But I just find it a really amazing thing that you can take something like a Raspberry Pi, was it RP2040 chip, so much power, and you can get it to just do all these different things, fulfilling. You might use it to replace a component that can't be purchased anymore. My goodness, I've got a solder bridge here. I've got a solder bridge on my NuBus port. That's lucky that didn't cause any problems. That was there all along for all my testing. That could have been fun. How embarrassment. Did I say tiny weenie? Or was it meant to be teeny weenie? Mr. Tech Gadget also enjoys SMD soldering. Yeah, it is good fun. I do enjoy it. Paul, with that question that you've asked there, I think we'll probably try and steer clear of that in the chat here. I generally try and keep this chat as sort of a non-political space. I've got lots of things to talk about with that sort of stuff, but this is not really the channel that I use for discussing that sort of stuff. So I would probably request that people don't necessarily answer that. Certainly not on this live stream anyway. That would be probably my request. Yeah, even buying equipment such as oscilloscopes has become far more accessible. And one point to speak to with that is like this Finersi little oscilloscope cross multimeter that I'm testing at the moment. you know, even though I spent a lot of money on an oscilloscope that I have up there, which is also very hard to pronounce the name of, I would have probably just settled for a little 2-in-1 unit like this if it had existed at the time for what I use an oscilloscope for. Yeah, I mean, the oscilloscope that I ended up buying a while ago, and I can't remember the name of the brand, but it's a fairly well-known one. I spent a few $100s on it, sure, but when you consider what it does, it really wasn't that much money in the grand scheme of things. It does way more than I'll ever use. Sort of stuff I'm doing. Oh, washing machine's just finished. You don't need to retract it. I was just sort of, you know, and I mean, I don't want you to feel bad. I really don't. I mean, it's not my intention to try and make you feel bad. I'm just sort of letting you know that I do like to keep this as a very apolitical landscape. I don't mind talking about politics of computer companies. You know, in terms of like you know, we've talked about some of the things that Apple has done that we are not too impressed with. That sort of stuff. I really don't mind that, but it's sort of the more broader political stuff. Even though I am a very political person, you may not necessarily know that about me, but I am. But I reserve that for very specific channels to actually talk about that sort of stuff. Nearly got a RAM slot on, or two of them actually, because it's a 2-in-1. Some of these pins you can actually see that they've got corrosion on them, and the solder's taking a bit of extra work to get it to stick to it. Have to, you know, keep the heat there a bit longer because the pins have sort of oxidized a bit with age. I have a 2FX board that I bought a 2FX, right? I bought a 2FX on eBay, paid too much for it, didn't work. But I thought, you know what, this would be fun to repair. And I did quite a lot of repair. I did some live streams on it. I think I called it like the Swamp 2FX because it was in such bad condition. Hello, you're back. That I had always wanted to try and get that board working, and then when I started really losing hope that I would get it working, I decided, oh, that will be a good one to use for a Reloaded. And then I ended up getting a 2FX, so it's now I'm going to just generally probably use it as a donor board if I'm doing any more of these. So. Oh, ice cream. I'd love some ice cream. Who's got ice cream? I love ice cream. Who said I don't love ice cream? I love ice cream. This what do you call it? RAM slot is also a little bit bended. And this, I guess, is happening from the heat that I applied to it. So I'm just going to solder these middle ones first and just apply pressure to try and unbend it. Anyone else get sick of notifications from like apps and stuff? I mean, I just got one there from Uber Eats, and I'm just sort of like, I really don't want constant notifications from companies like Uber Eats. I know I can just switch it off, but I know they do sometimes have offers that are worth checking out. I have to admit, I've gone right off Uber Eats. Used to use them all the time, but the last few times we've gone to use it, food's taken forever to arrive. Food's arrived cold. I've just kind of really gone off it. I mean, it used to be quite good. I mean, I used to use Uber Eats a fair bit, and it's like, yeah, this is great. Oh, wow, this Uber Eats is so cool. We can eat anything now. But nowadays it's got to the point where you kind of, whatever you're going to order with Uber Eats, you've got to order something that you can then reheat at home. Whether it be like a pizza or something like that. Something you can turn the oven on and put the food in the oven when it arrives, because it just never arrives cold. I mean hot. Yeah, Steve, so you're providing ice cream, is that right? It's my understanding that Steve's about to provide ice cream for everyone? Usually limit myself to walking distance pickups. Yeah, I mean, I've only got a few places within walking distance food-wise. There's 2 Indian food places, a Korean place, hamburger joint, and the pub. They're probably all walking distance, and there's one's a little bit further away. I think it's only 2 Indian food joints. There might be 3. I think it's only 2. Oh, and there's a Chinese food shop too. But I honestly don't know if anyone eats there. I mean, I guess they do because they're still going, but I don't think I've ever eaten food from there. I was about to go to bed, but I can wait until the ice cream arrives. Awesome. Yeah, we can all wait for the ice cream. I've got a spider that is just dangling from my microscope at the moment. It's a teeny weeny little one. But it's a little bit distracting. Where are we going to put you, fella? How about over here? Somewhere. We'll find home. Oh, hello. Chicken's still just sitting here. Hello. Now this will be the RAM that had a busted pin, so I'd kind of like to try and find that one first to see that it's one that I can get some decent amount of solder on. Solder. Gonna have to look at it sideways because... Oh, sorry, I moved the spider. Sorry. There'll probably be some more, because I am in a shed, and we do get a lot of spiders in here. Not the dangerous ones, just little tiddly ones. Get an occasional gigantic huntsman. They're scary, but they're not dangerous. Oh, we'll just cross that bridge when we come to it. I think we're fine. What day is it today? Sunday? Yeah. I had such a busy day yesterday. On Saturday, I had a picnic, and I did some cleaning, and did some chores, and went on a walk, and went out to dinner. Crazy. Had Thai for dinner. Very, very yummy. Love Thai food. A nice Thai restaurant near us. It's not walking distance, though we have walked it once. I think we walked there, and then caught an Uber home because our bellies were sluggish. Spiders can help you debug. If another spider comes along, I will pop him under the microscope and we can have a look. They fall from the roof because I think there's like a nest or something up there, and so little baby ones just come down from the roof, and I just find them on my neck and my head and stuff sometimes when I head back up to the house. I've been spending my spare time, cleaning my kitchen cupboards. Sounds exciting, I know. I am someone who spends quite a lot of time in the kitchen because I love cooking. So I want my kitchen cupboards to be nice and easy to work with. Yeah, we have daddy long legs here as well. They're not venomous. That's actually just that's a fiction that someone made up. That daddy long legs are venomous. It has been debunked. I don't know where that started or how it started. Someone sort of said, I think the story was that daddy long legs are one of the venomous spiders out there, but they can't. But they're what do you call them? The little fangs are too small to penetrate human skin, so they're not dangerous. That was, I think, the little story that got told, and it's pure fiction, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, that was that little fiction spread out to this part of the world as well, and we do have daddy long legs. We've got plenty of them. I think daddy long legs are in every corner of the planet, to be honest. Just looked up the huntsman spider. Yeah, they're big. There's a couple of types that are a little bit venomous, as in like you wouldn't want to get bitten because they're a pretty painful bite. And in all truth, if a huntsman does bite you, you're going to know. But it's not going to do you any damage other than the actual penetration of the fangs into the skin. But the thing about huntsman spiders is they are... It's almost like they can turn into liquid and they can just get in anywhere. And we've actually had situation, you actually regularly have situations where there'll be a huntsman like under the door handle of your car. So when you go to go to open your car door, there's a spider under there. But one of the places they love to get, because they can actually get in through the vents of your car. They're that malleable. They're a big spider, but they're so malleable they can get in through vents in your car. And then they end up inside your car, and they like to hide underneath the visor. So the spider will actually sit behind the sun visor, and so it's a fairly common thing in Australia for people to check very carefully behind the visor before flipping it down. Because if you flip them down, then the spider lands in your lap, and then the next thing you know, you're likely to do yourself a mischief. But they're great. Huntsmans are great because they insect control. They keep your insect numbers down. They like to live in like little cracks and crevices and stuff like that. It's not uncommon to see them residing like under pieces of bark on trees and stuff like that. We had an absolutely massive one in our house the other day. I let him stay. But he was right above a doorway, so he had to walk under him, or her, to get out the door. And that was sort of like, oh, don't you drop on me. Don't you dare drop on me. Avoid cars when visiting Australia. Yeah, I mean, there are a few precautions that you take. And of course, there's the whole thing about, if you are coming to Australia, leaving shoes outside. Don't leave shoes outside, because if you leave shoes outside for any length of time, you will get spiders living inside them. I can prove that. Later on I can maybe post a photo onto my Facebook or something like that, showing a pair of shoes that I have sitting outside at the moment, and I promise you, you would not want to put your feet in them. As Douglas Adams was writing something about Australia once, and he said, my tip for anyone going to Australia is not to put your hand down any holes anywhere for any reason. Because chances are there's something down the bottom of the hole. These shoes are beyond shaking out, I can tell you that. All right, well that's my RAM. I'm feeling pretty good about that. I'm just going to change views here very quickly so we can have a look. Now we've got 8 slots. So, feeling good. And I did manage to get these flattened out, which is good. Could probably apply some heat to them so that they can soften and then settle into that position. I need to put battery holders on here, but I do need to speak to Kai about that as to what sort of battery holders he wants. Whether he wants half AA to make it a little bit more traditional, or whether he wants the 3-volt lithium, so I'll have to ask him that. Excuse me. So what remains? Oh yes, well actually that's on there, so he might have to live with that. I need to put that on there. Now I might have a new one of those, so we'll just check that. That is a female. That's male. That's female. Makes a lot of sense to just use new ones when you can. I've got to replace these still, because it's just a lot easier than having to remove old ones. Oh, memories of Flash Gordon movie, Hand in the Tree Hole. That was, that scene had Timothy Dalton in it, didn't it, if I remember rightly? Timothy Dalton, who would then go on to become Bond for a very brief period of time. I haven't seen that movie since it came out. I remember seeing it at the cinema. I've got it, but I've just never watched it since then. So... no, gonna need the microscope. Eyes are too crap. Gordon's alive. Flash. He'll save every one of us. The board was definitely designed using Sprint, I can tell by the octagonal vias for the RAM. Okay. Yes, it's whatever Bowl uses. I have to say, I was building a website the other day, and I started using the WordPress block editor. And I have to admit, I was a bit blown away. As someone who's been using WordPress for many years, I've always used the classic editor. And I use the block editor, and wow. You can do some really, really quite complex design and layout with WordPress now using that block editor. I was very impressed. Okay, let's see if we can get a... well, this is a bit bended. Wonder if I can unbend it. Are these all bended? Well, a little bit bended. I think we'll be alright. I think we'll be alright. As long as you don't use Comic Sans. No, I do not use Comic Sans. Fonts have just become so much easier these days because of the range of fonts that Google have available. You know, once upon a time it was, you know, I mean, if you wanted to have a font on a website and you wanted to use an actual proper licensed font legally. A lot of people weren't doing it legally, but if you wanted to do it legally, it was crazy expensive, like really, really expensive to do. And Google have just got so many different fonts now that you can just grab and stick onto your website. They're hosting them, that's super easy, or you can download them and host them yourself. It's just so simple, and that is the way to go now, really. So many people do it these days. When I get stuff, almost everything is either using a font that comes for free with the Adobe suite, or a font that comes for free with Google. So, you know, I mean, when I started off in the print prepress, you know, we had to spend a fortune on fonts. Print design and prepress. Okay. Looks good. I'm not sure we'll get all these on today, only because as I said before, I've still got some things that I need to get done today. A few chores. And I'm cooking schnitzel for dinner. Schnitty, chicken schnitty. Gotta love a bit of schnitty, eh? Can't stand the block editor, but that's mostly because I'm importing existing HTML. Have never tried to do that. One thing I would say with the block editor, which is really, really important, makes a world of difference. There is a plugin that you can use, and I can't remember what the name of it is, but I can look it up if you want me to. There's a plugin that you can use that creates a little guide around each block, within the corner a name of what that block is. So when you start nesting blocks, if you end up putting, I don't know, you've got a columns, columns sitting inside groups, so you have lots and lots of nesting of blocks going on. Once you've got nested blocks in WordPress as it is, it becomes a nightmare because you can't see where anything is. But with this plugin, it does an outline and a little tag to tell you what all the blocks are and where they are. It makes it so much easier. You can drag the blocks around, move them into different places, clearly see what's going on, and it just makes designing with a thing so much easier if you are someone who does website building. But I just finished building a website. Well, it's not finished. All the content's on there. Content needs a bit of refining, and and I've got to do some refining for the responsive stuff. It doesn't look too crash hot on a phone at the moment, but that's something I'll fix up. Yeah. Some of the freebie fonts were good. A lot of them were bad. A lot of them had really bad kerning pairs and stuff like that. And so when you get two letters next to each other, the spacing would be really weird. I found that with quite a few of those free fonts that used to come in those big bundles. There is a website out there. If you're ever looking for free fonts, there's a website out there called, other than Google ones that is, if you need more range, fonts, here we go. It's called FontSpace. FontSpace. If you have a look at FontSpace, I think there are some there that might have some paid licenses, but the majority of the fonts on there are either they're royalty free to use, I think. So check out FontSpace. It's a really well set up website as well. In terms of when you grab a font, you can preview it and you can put in what text you want to preview with, and then you can search for particular styles of fonts. It's so if you don't want to use the Google fonts, but you don't want to have to pay for fonts, do check out FontSpace. In some instances, they will have a font which is a demo, so they might only give you most of the characters, but not all of them, and they usually put restrictions on them being embedded, which I know how to get around, but never mind. Yeah, check out FontSpace if you're interested in fonts. FontSpace. We have come a long way from typesetting, that is for sure. So when I started in the trade, that was 1986, '89. When I started at this company, they had these machines called CRtronics terminals, and they were a typesetting machine. So it was still modern. It wasn't like hot lead stuff, but you typed in it was a little bit like typing in HTML. You'd type in stuff to style things through a little keyboard, and then you would print out galleys. So when you would actually, and then it would print out on bromide. There we go. See, Dana knows this stuff. And so what would happen is you lay out all your text. You'd have a particular font. So you'd put a disk in to load a font into it, and then you'd specify this is the font you want, your point size, all that sort of stuff, and you would create galleys. And so it was like a fancy word processor, really, which used a fairly archaic form of tags and stuff. And real skills, the people that use these things that could use them fast. And then they would print out these galleys of text, so that's just like columns of text, and on, in very high resolution on a bromide material, which you would then have to process. So you put it through like a photographic processing thing, so through developer and then fixer and then a washer and then a dryer, and then the galleys would come out, and then people would cut them and lay them out on a page manually. So you would have if you were working on a magazine, you would get these guides that would tell you how wide the columns need to be and all that sort of stuff. And then you would get your text, and you'd stick it down, you put wax on the back of it, and you'd stick it down, and you do all your layout manually, totally manually. And then this is where the picture's going to go, and here's a caption. And when they put lines on there, they use things like Letraset and that to draw straight lines with things, or you use pens. They used to have these things called rotoring pens, which allowed you to do these absolutely incredibly sharp lines. They were very expensive. And then, of course, that got replaced with desktop publishing. And, with things like PageMaker, Quark Express, what were some of the other ones? What was that one on the PC? Ventura Publisher, does that sound right? I don't know, I can't remember. But and then people then were able to lay out a whole page on a computer, and then all they had to do was just print the whole page, rather than having to print out galleys and manually cut them to fit into things. So Publisher was Microsoft Publisher, that was poo. But there was another one that predated Microsoft Publisher, and I think it was called Ventura or something like that. Would you know what number 7 solvent is? No, I wouldn't. I might, but I don't think so. Yes, big hulking things with a tiny green screen. That's the CRtronics. But anyhow, when I started at this company, they had 2 CRtronics terminals, and they sold them just after I got there. So I got to see them in action, but not for long. It was literally like a matter of days or even weeks, and then they were gone. We had a Linotronic image setter connected up to a Linotronic RIP. That's RIP, raster image processor. We used to be able to send PostScript files down to it, and it would then process them and then print them out to the Linotronic printer. Linotronic printer used to print onto bromide material, so very, very high resolution. So bromide, the thing it does, because it's like a photographic paper, it means the edges of your text are perfectly sharp. It's not like when you print with a laser printer. Even if you print with a laser printer that's 1200 dpi, when you look at it under a magnifying glass, because of the fibers of the paper, the edges are all blah, 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 blah. But on bromide, they were absolutely pin sharp. And this machine that we used, its standard resolution was 1270 dpi, and its high resolution was 2540. So 2540 dpi is, I think, 100 dots per centimetre, something like that. Yeah, so them's were the days. The old Heidelberg offset printer. Fancy Heidelberg, a big name in printing. Linotronic, okay, we had a Linotronic L230 image setter, then a 630. The 630 was utter shit, so we went AGFA with the Select Set 500. Yeah, so we had the Linotronic 300. Now, that one was the first one we had, and that was at a time when there wasn't a great deal of competition. By the time we then went to buy another image setter, there was a lot of competition, and we ended up going with a company called, I think it was Hyphen, and they did the image setter and the raster image processor. I think they did both. The image setter could have come from someone else, I'm not sure. And the image setter, I think, was ultimately someone else's engine that had just been rebadged. And we had a smaller one and a larger one. But the big change that happened between our first image setter and the next one that we got was the raster image processor side of it. With the Linotronic, it used to be a dedicated unit, dedicated hardware that did this. With the RIPs that came later on, they essentially were just software running on whatever hardware you wanted. And initially it was PC, but then later on they had them that run on Macs as well. And what that meant was that you could have this software running on that computer, and you could then buy a newer, faster computer and immediately speed up your page processing. So you weren't locked into this, proprietary hardware. You could move this software onto some faster hardware and end up with a faster RIP. That was a big thing. So I didn't do printing. I just did pre-press. I worked closely with some printers at the time because we did pre-press. We had sort of like some partnerships going on, and so I spent some time at printers, but I never actually did printing. I can't say that I have any real skills in printing. I understand the printing process. I know how offset printing works. I know about polymers and monomers and all that sort of stuff. So I've got a pretty good understanding of the print process, but I never actually worked in print. The main area I worked in was design, pre-press, and marketing. That was the kind of the main thing. And then of course that then moved into multimedia and web development. Same company, just doing different things for the company as they were starting to kind of change what they were doing. And in that role, I then also ended up doing quite a lot of 3D modeling and photography and stuff. So got to actually learn quite a few skills during that. Because ultimately, pre-press kind of died. It used to be a series of steps. You had lots of different people all working towards the same end. So you would have, typesetters, you would have page layout people, you would have, scanner operators, you would have people working on bench, bench workers working on a light bench. There were just so many different areas of the trade. And then what ended up happening is the computers refined it to a point where you could design something on a computer and then take that design and print directly to a printing plate. So all of those intermediate things, all of those professions along the way were all gone. The idea that you would have one person that did nothing but scan things, they were a scanner operator, all they ever did was get their transparencies, they'd scan them and they would get the best results, and they were so good at that, people stopped caring. The technology got better, but also people stopped caring as much about the end result when they would say, we can keep this scanner operator on, or we can get the designer to scan things on this little flatbed printer and it's going to save you a person's wage and all this equipment. Which would you rather do? And it's like the standards just lowered. I still do pre-press, and it's all condensed down to one roll now, and I'm also a plate maker. Yeah. It's people who have learned the traditional side of pre-press. I think they are very valuable employees, because when you think of things like, digital T-shirt printing, digital poster printing on the sides of trucks, all of this stuff, all of these things involve an understanding of kind of pre-press. You've got to understand the mediums you're working with. You've got to understand the equipment you're working with. I mean, the whole idea of printing on a black shirt, what a lot of people don't necessarily realise is if you're going to print on a black shirt, you have to put down a layer of white first. If you put down just the colours on top, you won't see them. They'll just get lost in the black. And that's often the case with different types of printing out there. You have to have like a layer of white go down first, something to opaque out the background. You don't have to worry about that when you're doing traditional print because you're printing on a piece of white paper. Your white's already there. Yeah, Dad's company had a big ass drum scanner like 4 meters long. Yeah, I mean they existed. I've been to some places and seen some of those big old scanners. The company I worked for had a drum scanner, but it was only about, the whole unit was probably about that size. The drum was probably about that size, something like that. It was a screen, I think, from memory. Screen scanner. But of course, drums, it's, again, there's a definite skill and understanding when it comes to doing drum scanning because, I mean, a lot of the time you would have to, if you were using something that had some scratches on it, you would then put a fluid. You would actually put a fluid down, put the slide on, and then put put more fluid on, then put a clear plastic on. So you've actually got the slide or the transparency sitting in a little thing of fluid, and that would actually fill in any cuts or scratches on the surface or any speckles or anything like that, and it would mean you could get a much clearer scan. But these are all skills that are kind of gone. No one really cares about that anymore. Just get AI to retouch all the scratches out. I've got one pin here which is pretty broken. I just want to see if I can still solder it. I'll probably put one more of these on and then I'll call it a day. And I do apologise if this has been a little bit dull for folks. I actually have this huge list of things that I need to be doing. I've got to be doing creating videos and stuff, but I've just been so busy lately that the best I've been able to do is just stop and have a live stream from time to time. I'm trying to find my other glasses, but in all the moving around trying to find my pliers, I've now lost my glasses by moving them out of the way. Because every time I lift something up, I push something further to the back. Me. That's the busted one there. And of course my uncle, who's retired now, but my uncle, he was he did his trade in, what's that printing method that they use for really, really large print runs, like packaging and stuff like that. Type of etching that used to it's type of etching that you used to have to do. He was a something etcher or something like that. I can't remember. I did a film to go to Prince Chrome. Yeah, we used to do chromolins. God, I remember chromolins. These are all words that I haven't said in such a long time. But I hear them and I go, oh God, yeah, that's right. Good old chromolins. These were just words that we all knew. Hey, I got it on. Was it gravure? Gravure etching? Does that mean anything? Was it? Can someone maybe look up and see if that's what I'm thinking about? Gravure etching? Gravure print. I might be just making stuff up. Gravure. Yeah, that sounds, that's I think it, gravure. So yeah, my uncle did his trade as a gravure etcher. And he then, of course, moved on to other forms of print later on, because gravure is something that's sort of, it wasn't being used as much. The sorts of things they used to print with gravure was stuff that had really large print runs, like cigarette packets and stuff like that. And the reason for it was that the gravure print plates lasted a really long time. Your standard print plates, they only have a certain lifespan, and so then you would have to make new plates when the old plates stopped working, and so that was a cost thing. So gravure was a more expensive process, but the plates would last a lot longer. So I'm going to just see if I can get solder onto this busted one. Yep, no problem there. I saw that go right down the hole there, so I'm confident with that. I mean, I can test it later on with a multimeter. Ice Cream Man is going plus your place. Go grab one. Get one with sherbet. I love the ones with sherbet. Soft serve with sherbet, please. A double cone with sherbet, please. God, I could go some ice cream right now. I really could. I would love a soft serve right now. Last time I was doing a live stream, the ice cream truck went by. But I was in here. Couldn't duck out and grab an ice cream. And then sit here and eat one while you guys are watching. That would have just been downright cruel. Cruel. Printing. I should have gotten ice cream anyway. I shouldn't have. I should have treated myself. But I've got some ice cream in the fridge upstairs, or freezer upstairs, so I may end up having some a little bit later on. It's Hokey Pokey ice cream. Do you guys have Hokey Pokey ice cream over there as well? It's got to be one of my favourite ice cream flavours out there. Remember when you could get a 40 cents? Yeah. What does it cost for a soft serve at Macca's now? I wouldn't have a clue. They don't, because the machine is always broken. Is it? Oh, that's no good. Why is the machine always broken? I can't say I've ever had a situation where a soft serve, because I like sundaes, love sundaes, which of course just uses the soft serve ice cream in there with all the goop on top of it. I can't say I've ever had a problem with the machine being broken for a sundae. I think there'd be a riot. If I went to get a sundae and I couldn't get my sundae because the machine was broken, I think I'd be throwing something through the window. I would never throw something through the window, but I would say very terse words. I would give them a piece of my mind. Bowl of Hokey Pokey with a few chopped chippies on top is the best, yeah. There's this ice cream place quite close to where I live, or it's where I shop. It's where I shop, and they sell fancy ice creams there, and they have just got the nicest Hokey Pokey, and I just buy little tubs of it when I go in. Lovely, really nice flavoured little honeycomb chips inside it. Beautiful. Bougie. But of course I have to be careful because it is bad for you. Too much of that sugary stuff, not good for you. Alright. We're making really good progress here, I have to say. If it wasn't for the fact that I've actually got to do stuff, I reckon I would just keep going on this one because I'm just so happy with the way this is coming along. So this is the current state of the board. We've got, we now have 8 RAM slots where we only had 4 before. I just set up 4 so that I could test it initially. I've now got 3 NuBus slots instead of just 1, so I've got another 3 to add. So I've also added my SCSI port there. So what I've got to do now, I've got 1 more ADB port to do, 2 more serial ports. I've got is that? Oh wow, is that? Oh, I've got a little joiny wire there. So this is obviously a board that had a fault on it, so I had to create a joint. I had to do a little joiny wire down here, but that's fine. I need to mask that so that it doesn't get damaged. But I need to speak to Kai about that because I don't have any purple mask. I've only got green stuff. So floppy connectors, PDS slot. These ports up here. I kind of would like to have a better SCSI port than that, but I'm not sure I can be bothered removing that. Removing these things is an absolute nightmare. And of course this does have the option for an ATX power supply there, but I mean, if Kai wants that at a later date, he can stick that on. That's a nice easy solder job for that. And then we've got a pin here, which I think is for the cache or something like here, the little jumper for the cache. I think it's for the cache or something like that, or is it the ROM? I don't know what it's for. It does something. Yeah, so we're getting pretty close because I'd really love to get this back to Kai. I've had it for such a long time, and I've got another one of his boards which I did some repair work on. I need to get that back to him as well, so he can start having some FX adventures. I am going to be looking at doing, hopefully if I can find the time, I'm looking forward to potentially doing a video on the Macintosh 2 series, because over the last several months, I suppose, I've managed to complete my collection of the Mac 2 series, which comprise of the Macintosh 2, Macintosh 2X, Macintosh 2FX, Macintosh 2CX, 2CI, 2SI, 2VX, and 2VI. Now, unfortunately, the Macintosh 2 series did go out with a bit of a whimper when it came to the Macintosh 2VI and 2VX, but the one good thing that we did get from those is the case design. There was a very nice case design on those, which of course did enable an internal CD-ROM drive. Someone is working on a Quadra 700 Reloaded, aren't they? Or is it already done? No, it's the Quadra 950's already done. Yeah, I think Bol was testing it. I don't think it's done yet, but yeah, he was going to test it, but he was working on that. But the Quadra 700, excuse me, because the Quadra 700 has the tantalum caps, and they don't suffer from the electrolytic leakage as much. But of course, they do suffer from the battery, because is the battery underneath? I think on a Quadra 700, the battery is underneath the drive caddy thing. So you can't see it. You can't access the battery very easily. I can't remember. I get them mixed up. I might be thinking of the 2CI. Yeah, Bowler's almost done with the 950. Yeah, cool. That's a gigantic board. That is such a big board. That's one of the reasons why I got this big ultrasonic cleaner here, because this will actually fit a 950 board in it. Anything smaller than this, you got no chance. Under the drive stack, yeah, okay, cool. And that's one of the reasons why I think so many of those Quadra 700s and 2CIs as well have ended up dying, is because people open the lid, they're not necessarily game enough to go and remove the drives, and so the battery just sits there and fails. If that battery was visible, you're more likely to people just lift off the top and go, oh, I'm going to take that battery out because I've heard they explode. And I think we'd probably have more of them around. Unfortunately, that's just the case. I have two 2CIs and a Quad 700 that I was able to diffuse the battery bomb on. Well done. Both on. Battery bomb on. Both them. On them. I have a working Quad 700. I also do. I have a Quad 700 and it is probably one of the favourite in my collection. And again, it comes down to the nostalgia side of things. I work for a company and the Quad 700, we got a Quad 700 and I think a Quad 800, I think. And these things were just groundbreaking. For up until that point, the fastest thing we had was a 2FX. But most of us were using either a 2CI or a 2CX to do the work. Then when the Quadras arrived, it was just like, bam, it was so much faster. It just completely changed our working life. So the Quad 700 was a big thing for us. And so for that reason, I have a definite nostalgia associated with it. And of course, we cannot forget the Quad 700 is the Jurassic Park computer. Everyone loves that. Works perfectly, except the built-in video is flaky. Something in the vicinity of the connector probably got some capacitor juice on it. Yeah, it's always a good idea to try and get those things washed as much as possible. Yeah. One of the things that always happens to me when I do these live streams, I'm sitting here and I'm chatting about all these computers. I'm working on these computers. I get to the end and I'm just like, I just want to sit around and play with my old Macs. I want to just pull out an old 2CI or an old Quad 700 and fire up and play some games and play with some old apps and stuff like that. I really would love to do that. I don't have a whole lot of time, certainly not today. But yeah, so yeah, I'm just going to check the chat, make sure I haven't missed anything here I need to discuss. I'll just check and see if there's anything interesting to look at with the chickens. Oh, they're all there. There we go. We can go to... hello, the chickens. Almost all there. The little white one's next to me here. So she's not there. She's not on the picture because she's right next to me here. Hello. She just parked herself there and she's been quite happily sitting there. She gets picked on by the other chicken, so I think she likes to hang out with me here. Yeah, they're all wandering around. They had some food in their feeder, but they're having a good old whinge. Yeah, it's nice. All right. Okay, do my normal thing here. I'm just going to say thank you to everyone for watching. I'm sorry for that technical glitch I had in the middle. While I was hunting for my pliers, I accidentally pressed the button that plays my outro. And when my outro starts playing, once the video stops, it stops my streaming. So I just went offline for a second there and I didn't even realize it had happened. And so I suddenly realized when I was looking in the chat that people were saying weird things and stuff. I'm like, what? And then I look down and I see that I've got an option to press the button to say start streaming. I'm thinking, if it's telling me I can start, it means that I clearly have stopped. So I fired it up again and we got going. Thankfully, it was a relatively short amount of time, but I do apologize to everyone when that happened. Bro, have you even streamed before? Yeah. I mean... The main issue I have here at the moment is my desk is just way too messy for doing what I'm doing. I need to clean it up. I need to come down here and dedicate, I don't know, a few hours to get in here, lift everything, lift everything off my desk, absolutely everything, and clean under it, and then find homes for all the stuff that's just scattered, and put all the tools back that I need to use and all that sort of stuff. I mean, there's one of the big problems I have here is there is just so much stuff and I've just run out of places to store a lot of it. So, GT, hello there. Oh, geez, I think I'm burning some plastic. Never mind. So yes, we can look forward to Steve from Mac84 will be streaming hopefully soon once he gets his... streaming Mac, which is arriving soon, because his current streaming Mac's giving him some grief. So hopefully we've got some streams to look forward to of Steve's. I know he's always whinging about how cold it is down in the basement, but I'm sure he'll be fine. Desk cleanup live stream. I actually did a desk cleanup in fast motion as a Patreon video when I very first set up my Patreon. I made that one of the very first exclusive videos I did, and I set up it's like a time lapse type thing of me cleaning up the desk. Maybe it's time for another one. So, oh yes, just got to mention Macintosh, which of course happens soon, and I'm pretty sure it's on Ron's channel. I'll have to double check that. Ron's computing videos. He is doing a video to discuss the start of Macintosh, and that video is happening on Monday. I think it's 8 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so check out that one. Desktop cleanup and wine stream. Geez, that sounds fun, actually. So yeah, I think I'll need to double check that. But yeah, I think if you have a look on Ron's channel, you'll probably find the Macintosh video there, of which I will probably pop in and say a little hello while that video is happening. As I say, for Macintosh, I'm hoping that I might be able to do a little video on the Macintosh 2 series. As I have all the Macintosh 2s now, and yeah, we'll just see what happens. I mean, you know, I hope for the best. Hopefully, I'll be able to do some content that will be of some interest to folks. Okay, well, I hope everyone has enjoyed themselves. Thank you very much for joining. I apologise if this was a little bit on the dull side. It was pretty exciting when I was using the hot plate thingy. That was freaking me out just a little bit. But, you know, we managed to get all the NuBus slots off. We managed to get some RAM slots off. And I've managed to get, you know, some of those back onto this TWEEZERS board. So this one is getting pretty close to completion. And I'm pretty happy about that. So, hope to see everyone soon. I hope to live stream again next week. We'll see how we go with time. Fingers crossed. As usual, I've got lots of stuff in the pipeline, and hopefully we'll be having some of that stuff come out fairly soon. Thanks for keeping me company. Thanks for keeping the chat super active. Really enjoyed the chat today. There's been lots of stuff going on. It's been good fun, and I hope to see you at the next one. So bye now.